The new leaders. A stranger I overheard mentioned that in war we all lose. And a boy energetically sprung up to the conversation and said, "What do you mean? We won the Second World War. We couldn't afford to lose. We didn't lose." So how is it that in war both sides lose? And yet it is also necessary to protect the best version of the free world we managed to build thus far. This boy was looking at the final victory. The bad guys lose, the good guys win. But the world is a sequence of events. It is a timeline. And everything that occurs within a context. Both sides have lost because we are one family. Skin color, blood ties, religions, and even political borders are all fantasies. They are not real. Deep down, we are one people, one family. The bad guys were the teenagers that had their lives stolen by broken politicians. Their freedom of will was stolen by their commanders, who were ordered to kill them if they refused to fight. And many poisoned their own minds with propaganda, nonsense, and more fantasy, or sometimes couldn't afford to care what is true and what is a lie, because they would die. When a person stops caring like that, they become ill, a victim of the enemy. When we sent in the good guys to destroy them, we were simply forced to murder our distant family that was made ill on purpose by some very nasty people. It is not even a question of sides. It was the entirety of humanity that simply lost. The world became darker, stained with layers of unforgivable crimes. Once you get to the point when a war is fought, everyone has already lost. There cannot be any winners. The world has made part of itself sick, and the cure is more killing. To truly win, to use that word, we have to look deeply into the future and prevent the many wrong steps that eventually lead to war. Politicians today do as little as possible, and they see as little as possible. It is a safe bet for re-elections, awards, keeping their wealth, and praise. If they began looking 20 or 50 steps ahead and started making decisions that cause domino effects, their jobs would become infinitely more difficult. Today, they play tic-tac-toe. And what we are describing here is chess against a powerful computer. There is something else to complicate this matter. Liars. A liar, by definition, is an outsider, and he is not just part of the play. He can freely move beyond the fourth wall. While politicians are playing their tic-tac-toe or even complex chess, a liar will break them by destroying their home and breaking their spirits completely. As we learn to build a better future, we have to take liars under consideration. As we make new decisions, we also have to ensure that those decisions lock the liar down, disable him. A world with a powerful global school that allows humanity to vote on which lectures are most worthy and bring most results is a world in which a madman cannot corrupt his people, not without being noticed. When we notice that a nation is warping the minds of its people, we need to courageously, in our collective wisdom and greatness, face this as an act of future war and create incentives for these people who are being abused, who are being corroded and corrupted, to leave that environment behind, to move to another country. There's plenty of space in the world where they get a free home, real education, and a wonderful and happy future. By abandoning our extended family to propaganda, we are tolerating the creation of a future enemy, already losing all the wars that are now bubbling up in the future. Moreover, by tolerating ineffective education in countries that are part of the best version of the free world that we have created thus far, we are cheating the future generations, and thus the politicians and world leaders of the more complex future, from having the ability to think in multiple steps and identify prevention as the real way to move forward towards a more peaceful world. The brightest hope we have for change are not leaders, best of whom will only be able to fulfill their promises in small part, mostly due to warped minds, uneducated people, and yes, liars. The brightest hope we have are the teenagers. They are the least indoctrinated chain link in the chain of pain that has us running in circles in a world barely held together by mutually assured destruction and choked with toxic poverty. It is their rejection of not just war crimes, but also of war. It is their rejection of mandatory military service around the world and the system of death or punishment that forces a soldier to kill or stay within the military after they change their mind. It is their rejection of fake education and interest in narrated books and great adventures that can alter the future of humankind with the least amount of effort. They just need to stop cramming and pretending that memorization is somehow education, and demand real and effective lectures that have them take away something precious and personally valuable at the end of each class. Before we even notice, they will grow up to become the well-educated world leaders that we all need. Together, they will form a leadership network built with foresight, knowledge, wisdom, greatness, and the understanding that we are one people, one family. All sides lose in a war that is fought. The only way to win is to identify and erase all the components that lead up to armed conflict. Real education is just one of many things. It is mainly involved in preventing nationalism, indoctrination, and misunderstanding. Another one is global end of poverty. It is something that we can't comprehend. We can't conceive of. It's not in us because we have suffered indoctrination. The end of global poverty upgrades the concept of money, the concept that we invented, granting every human being the equivalent of $100 each day, which is just $3.5 million per person. It's nothing. Free from the corroding influence of poverty and enabled with real education and actual freedom, in a way that we can say such a thing, they will provide far more value to the world than that small sum of money. End of poverty will clear the prisons, end hunger, and homelessness, and ease stress, making many disorders manageable. As strange, I know they sound strange to you, but as strange as all these changes sound today, they are the normal. They outline a more realistic, more compassionate, more beautiful, more honest, more authentic, more caring world. It is the world we live in today, stained with war, chained and choked by poverty, gnawing at itself with pollution and deforestation, and held hostage by small-minded men whose greatest achievement is the concept of mutually assured destruction and borders over which those rockets will fly. Because we are blindly propagating mistakes that cause great harm and suffering to the entire humankind, the history books will not be kind to us. But we can encourage young people who do not yet suffer from sunk cost fallacy and other indoctrinations to reject what simply feels to them as ineffective or stupid education, and in turn demand life-changing and personally valuable results from their teachers and principals and even politicians. If we can help them unravel ineffective education, we will have begun the process of eliminating small-mindedness, propaganda, indoctrination, and nationalism all around the world. In turn, the future generations will rebuild how money is handled around the world and build a new banking system on top of the concept that no human being should ever suffer from curable disease, hunger, homelessness, or poverty. It wasn't the leaders that would make the world better. It was your children all along.
Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world, whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people.
Aangesien dit noodsaaklik is dat menseregte deur die wet beskerm word, ten einde te voorkom dat mense nie gedwing gaan word om in opstand teen tirannie en onderdrukking te kom nie. Aangesien dit noodsaaklik is om die ontwikkeling van vriendelike bande tussen nasies aan te
Considerando
moedig.
ser essencial promover o desenvolvimento de relações amistosas entre as nações.
Considerando que os povos das Nações Unidas reafirmaram, na Carta da ONU, sua fé nos direitos humanos fundamentais, na dignidade e no valor do ser humano e na igualdade de direitos entre homens e mulheres, e que decidiram promover o progresso social e melhores condições de vida em uma liberdade mais
Tilsidesættelse
ampla.
af og foragt for menneskerettighederne har ført til barbariske handlinger, der har oprørt menneskehedens samvittighed, og da skabelsen af en verden, hvor menneskene nyder tale- og trosfrihed og frihed for frygt og nød, er blevet forkyndt som folkets højeste mål. Da det er af afgørende betydning, at menneskerettighederne beskyttes af loven, hvis ikke mennesket som en sidste udvej skal tvinges til at gøre oprør
Tous
mod
les êtres
tyranni og
humains naissent
undertrykkelse.
libres et égaux en dignité et en droit. Ils sont doués de raison et de conscience et doivent agir les uns envers les autres dans un esprit de fraternité. Article 2. Chacun peut se prévaloir de tous les droits et de toutes les libertés proclamés dans la présente déclaration, sans distinction aucune, notamment de race, de couleur, de sexe, de langue, de religion, d'opinion politique ou de toute autre opinion d'origine nationale ou sociale, de fortune, de naissance ou de toute autre
Κανείς δεν
situation.
επιτρέπεται να ζει υπό καθεστώς δουλείας, ολικής ή μερικής. Η δουλεία και το δουλεμπόριο, υπό οποιαδήποτε μορφή, απαγορεύονται. Άρθρο 5. Κανείς δεν επιτρέπεται να υποβάλλεται σε βασανιστήρια, ούτε σε ποινή ή μεταχείριση σκληρή, απάνθρωπη ή ταπεινωτική.
לא יופלה אדם על פי מעמדה המדיני, על פי סמכותה או על פי מעמדה הבינלאומי של המדינה או הארץ שאליה הוא שייך, בין שהארץ היא עצמאית ובין שהיא נתונה לנאמנות, בין שהיא נטולת שלטון עצמי ובין שריבונותה מוגבלת כל הגבלה אחרת. סעיף ג' כל אדם יש לו הזכות לחיים,
Minden személynek
לחירות
joga van az ilyen
ולביטחון
beavatkozásokkal vagy sértésekkel szemben a törvény védelméhez. 13. cikk, első pont. Az államon belül minden személynek joga van szabadon mozogni és lakóhelyét szabadon megválasztani. Második pont. Minden személynek joga van minden országot, ideértve saját hazáját is elhagyni, valamint saját hazájába visszatérni. 14. cikk, első pont. Minden személynek joga van az üldözés elől más országban menedéket keresni, és a más ország
Articolo
nyújtotta
1.
menedéket élvezni.
Tutti gli esseri umani nascono liberi ed uguali in dignità e diritti. Essi sono dotati di ragione e di coscienza e devono agire gli uni verso gli altri in spirito di fratellanza. Articolo 2. Ad ogni individuo spettano tutti i diritti e tutte le libertà enunciate nella presente dichiarazione, senza distinzione alcuna, per ragioni di razza, di colore, di sesso, di lingua, di religione, di opinione politica o di altro genere, di origine nazionale o sociale, di ricchezza, di nascita o di altra condizione. Nessuna distinzione sarà inoltre stabilita sulla base dello statuto politico, giuridico o internazionale del paese o del territorio cui una persona appartiene, sia indipendente o sottoposto ad amministrazione fiduciaria o non autonomo, o soggetto a qualsiasi limitazione di sovranità.
Ditirapake utawa nampa pidana kang ora kaya lumrahing umat manusa utawa sinungkur kremehake. Bab 6. Saben uwong nderbe hak tumrap paseki ing sakjroning angger-angger minangka umat manusa sacara pribadi ing endi wae papan dumune. Bab 8. Saben uwong duweni hak kapulihake kanthi trep saka sesambunge katrapatan pangadilan nasional tumrap tindak tanduk kang nalasir saka hak-hak baku kang dening angger-angger kaprasane
de um ato delituoso presume-se inocente até que a sua culpabilidade fique legalmente provada no decurso de um processo público em que todas as garantias necessárias de defesa lhe sejam asseguradas. 2. Ninguém será condenado por ações ou omissões que, no momento da sua prática, não constituíam um ato delituoso à face do direito interno ou internacional. Do mesmo modo, não será infligida pena mais grave do que a que era aplicável no momento em que o ato
Artículo 12.
delituoso foi cometido.
Nadie será objeto de injerencias arbitrarias en su vida privada, su familia, su domicilio o su correspondencia, ni de ataques a su honra o a su reputación. Toda persona tiene derecho a la protección de la ley contra tales injerencias o ataques. Artículo 13. Número 1. Toda persona tiene derecho a circular libremente y a elegir su residencia en el territorio de un...
Пункт 3. Осуществление этих прав и свобод ни в коем случае не должно противоречить целям и принципам Организации Объединенных Наций. Статья 30. Ничто в настоящей декларации не может быть истолковано как предоставление какому-либо государству, группе лиц или отдельным лицам права заниматься какой-либо деятельностью или совершать действия, направленные к уничтожению прав и свобод, изложенных в настоящей деклaracji.
Powszechna Deklaracja Praw Człowieka została uchwalona przez Zgromadzenie Ogólne Organizacji Narodów Zjednoczonych 10 grudnia 1948 roku.